What's going on, everyone? It's Nick, and before we begin, please remember to like, and if you're new, please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And just because I don't really feel like editing, but I want to put up a video, I decided to make a video kind of like what Kenny For Real does. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's someone that I watch all the videos for, so if you want to check him out, I'll leave a link in the description. He didn't do anything today, but I thought that I may as well. And also, Rusty Buckets has done this kind of video where we just talk about the games, but there's no editing involved. Well, maybe if I stumble upon my words, but no footage, no pictures, none of that, just me talking. If you're a fan of that, let me know. So let's get into it. So the two nationally televised games were the Warriors and Mavericks, and I actually didn't watch that game because I thought I should watch the Utah Jazz instead. I think they still have the best record in the NBA right now. Let me check. They still do, but the Lakers and Clippers are half a game behind. And I found out as soon as the game started that Trae Young wasn't going to play, but I decided why not watch it anyways because I have watched a few Warriors games, but I don't think I've really watched enough Jazz games. And when I was watching this game, it felt like Jordan Clarkson just couldn't miss. It felt like everything he was taking went in. What was his exact stat line though? I mean, while I was watching though, it really felt like he just couldn't miss. He was 9 for 13 with 23 points. He was easily the player of the game. But you know who else had a really good game for the Jazz was Bojan Bogdanovic. He had 21 points on 9 of 14. And my preseason pick for a sixth man of the year was Danilo Gallinari, and that's one of many award predictions that I had going into the season. That's definitely not going well right now. It's definitely got to be Jordan Clarkson, at least as of now, if the season were to end today. He's having a career year right now, and this game only added to it. As someone who's been rooting for Jordan Clarkson since he was a Laker, and you know that I'm not one of those Lakers fans that here because of LeBron. I've been rooting for the Lakers for almost 20 years now. And actually, yeah, it has been 20 years now. But as someone who's been rooting for Jordan Clarkson since day one, I'm really happy to see him have a career year right now. And the Hawks only put up 91 points, but it's kind of expected, right, when you don't have Trae Young. And their lead scorer was John Collins. He was 6 for 16, followed by Kevin Huerter. And sometime in the second quarter, he had a really nice step back three. I'll be honest, I don't really watch a lot of Atlanta Hawks games, so I didn't know that that was in his bag. But that was nice, though. Just, I don't think he's as good at it as, let's say, James Harden, right? But I thought that step back three was nice, though. And Rudy Gobert's mid-range shot, I mean, at least he was willing to take that jump shot though, right? Even though it looked pretty ugly, but at least it hit the rim. But about the Warriors Mavericks game that I didn't get to see, but even though I didn't watch the Warriors Mavericks game, I still have to bring it up. I only looked at the stats, to be honest. I didn't actually watch any of the footage at all, but Kelly Oubre, 40 points. Oh my God. And Steph Curry also had a really good game, 28 points. And bro, can't say this enough. How are so many people writing him off after just a few games? He got off to a really bad start last year before he got hurt, and then he got off to a bad start this year. But come on, greatest shooter of all time, in my opinion, second greatest point guard of all time behind Irvin Magic Johnson. Why could people actually have the audacity to write this guy off? So what if he had a few bad games? It happens. And also Draymond, even though he's been a guy who hasn't filled up the box score stats but has made an impact with his intangibles, this time he did make an impact on the box score with 15 assists. But also for the Mavericks. What's up with the Mavericks? I, like so many other people, thought that they'd be really good this year. And I predicted Luka to be MVP, but that's not going very well. Perhaps statistically, but your team needs to win too. And with the Mavericks, that's just not happening. And we're a little over 20 games into the season now. And at this point in the season, with a little under 50 games left, we kind of see where every team is now. And for the Mavericks, it's just not looking good right now. So, yeah, I don't feel nearly as confident as I did going into the season right now about Luka winning MVP. If I had to pick the MVP right now, I would actually pick Joel Embiid. I think I've said that before, but I do think that between him and LeBron, without being biased, I think that LeBron has the better likelihood of maintaining his MVP level play. But right now, as it is, Joel Embiid is the MVP. And I actually also did watch some of the Sixers-Blazers game. And the Blazers are very short-handed. They were without both Dame and CJ's been out for a while. The Sixers were without Ben Simmons too. And yes, I know Ben Simmons has had a down year, but still, no way are the Sixers a better team without him. Just absolutely not. There's no way you could convince me otherwise. But the fact that the Sixers actually lost this game to a depleted Blazers team, I know they're undefeated with their full lineup, but one man short, regardless of who it is, and they lose to a team as depleted as the Blazers are right now, that's not a good sign. I don't think so. But I also don't think that being undefeated now with your full lineup is something that Sixers fans should really get their hopes too high about. And I'll say this, as much as I've been critical of Doc Rivers, he's not the worst coach in the NBA, but he does have his faults, and they definitely showed in the playoffs throughout his time in LA. Well, okay, 2016, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were injured. Fine. But 2015 and last year, those blown 3-1 leads, yeah, that's where Doc Rivers' faults definitely showed. And he was supposed to be a huge upgrade over Vinny Del Negro having championship experience, but he really wasn't. But okay, I know I just went off on a tangent there. And also, the Clippers were undefeated with their full lineup too until the Lakers beat them just a few days before the shutdown. So just being undefeated with your full lineup now isn't exactly something that I would say, oh, we're definitely winning the championship over. Like, just want to put that out there too. Although Gary Trent, he had a really good game, and I think this is the first game Melo started. And the Knicks are my second favorite team. I've already made one video about them. I'm gonna have to make another video about them pretty soon. I don't know when. And I'm still a very big fan of Melo. And correction, actually, he actually started 3 games this year, but he scored 22 points. So that's what I like to see from Melo. And Joel Embiid, like, he was going Super Saiyan in the first half. I think he had like 31 points in the first half, but then he just disappeared in the second half. He only scored 6 points for the rest of the game. But regardless of when he was scoring his points, I think that that's what's going to still help his MVP narrative, maybe to some writers. Because I think that the writers will look more at the 37 points he scored. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, he did disappear in the second half. But I'm also not going to hold one game against him that heavily, especially because he still put up a great stat line, but he disappeared in the second half nonetheless. And while Doc Rivers has brought the best out of Tobias Harris, he didn't exactly play his best. But also, again, I was paying a little more attention to the Jazz and the Hawks than I was to the Sixers and Blazers game. Because, I was watching both at the same time. On my laptop, which is where I'm recording this, I was watching the Jazz-Hawks game, and on my phone, I was watching the Sixers and Blazers at the same time. But I was more attentive to the Jazz-Hawks game. But by the third quarter, the Jazz just blew it open. It was like a 20-point game by then. So, I'm already over 7 minutes, actually. I didn't know I'd talk that long about either of these games. But okay, now I gotta talk about my team with their big win over the Denver Nuggets. First half, particularly that second quarter, that was really painful to watch. And I'm definitely not as high on Marc Gasol when the Lakers sign him right now. He's looked completely washed. And while I'm very much still rooting for Dwight Howard, not gonna lie, I miss him more than I thought I would. I thought when Marc Gasol came in, even though, while of course Dwight Howard's a much better all-time player, I thought that Marc Gasol would be more playable against more teams because of his ability to space the floor, his playmaking, but he just hasn't really been able to contribute for the Lakers. And even on defense, I thought that Jokic was having his way in the opening minutes, although as the game went on, in the third quarter, when the Lakers decided to use a big lineup of Kyle Kuzma, Talen Horton-Tucker, and oh my god, I love what Talen Horton-Tucker has brought to this team. Even though I'm not as high on Wesley Matthews or Marc Gasol as I was at the time the Lakers signed them, well, Talen Horton-Tucker has been really nice for the Lakers. And also LeBron, AD, and Montrezl Harrell, funny enough, because we don't expect Montrezl Harrell to be a contributor on defense, but you know what though? Even though he's undersized, I think, and this is something that I expected too, that because of the defensive scheme that he's in now, his deficiencies on defense are covered a lot more, and Jokic just really couldn't get going at all in the second half. The Lakers just really turned it up on defense, and LeBron, even though, yeah, I know triple-doubles are given out a little more casually, a lot more casually than before. Like, they're done a lot more casually than they were in the past. So, it's not as big of a deal as it used to be, but still, I'll give LeBron the credit anyways. The fact that he put up 27, 10, and 10, he had a great game. In fact, he was definitely the player of the game. Aside from that second quarter, though, and also when he airballed that three, come on, dude. And also, I know some of you won't like to hear this, but I just have to say it. I just wish that he'd stop complaining to the refs and not get back on defense as a result of complaining to the refs, even when the refs actually make the right call or the right no call. Even though I do like LeBron a lot, I appreciate what he's done for my team, it's something that I'm getting a little tired of, and I would like him to knock it off at some point. But again, I still love LeBron, don't get me wrong. This is just one thing that I would like him to stop already, because he does it at least once a game, and it's getting kind of annoying. But winning basketball certainly isn't annoying. I'm enjoying that, and I'm certainly enjoying him still playing at such a high level at 36 years old. Anthony Davis, he had an awful first half. Only 4 points, and Charles Barkley even criticized him, and as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Charles Barkley's assessments, I actually did agree with him that skill-wise, Anthony Davis has to be the best player in the NBA, but he just doesn't have that killer mentality, and that's what's really holding him back. I'd like for him to be more aggressive. And don't get me wrong, I love Anthony Davis. In fact, if you've seen my intros from the past, in a clip of myself playing basketball at the park, I was wearing an Anthony Davis shirt, so you know that I don't hate the guy at all. I love him. And plus, he's on my team. But I'm just going to keep it real with my assessments. I don't play favorites, and I just wish that Anthony Davis could be more aggressive. I wish that coming off that first championship that he'd come out more determined, like Kobe after 2000. I wasn't watching basketball in 2000. I started in 2001. But my memory's not that great from when I was 7 years old, but I watched clips of the old Lakers throughout my teenage years and also just read all the stories that Kobe was even more determined after that first championship, while Shaq was the one that was laid back. That year was when I was just starting to learn basketball though, but I really wish that Anthony Davis could have the mentality that Kobe had coming off that first championship, because if he had that, there's no doubt in my mind that Anthony Davis could very easily be in the MVP discussion right now. But I'm still going to trust him to bring it 100% when it's time to do so, as it gets closer to the playoffs and when it comes playoff time. I'm still going to trust him for that, but I just wish we could see it out of him now. And if either LeBron or Anthony Davis is going to load manage, shouldn't LeBron be the one load managing because LeBron's a lot older? But LeBron, yes, definitely player of the game. And THT, man, honestly, when he just joined the Lakers in the bubble last year, I didn't even know who he was. And I wasn't even thinking that he'd be a contributor until I saw him do big things in the preseason. And also, I cannot forget to talk about Kyle Kuzma. I know I've said it before when talking about the Lakers, and I definitely got to say it again, the fact that he's making plays on defense. And by the way, my biggest apologies to Kyle Kuzma for thinking that the Lakers should trade him, because while I never hated the guy, let's just get that out of the way first, I just thought that he'd be better off going back to scoring 16 to 18 points per game on a worse team. I thought that that would be something that he'd rather do now that he got his first ring. But actually, no, I'm glad to have him contributing now as a fifth option and also being able to make plays on defense too. And I definitely can't forget to talk about Dennis Schroeder too, scoring 21 points on really high efficiency. And I've criticized him in an earlier episode for being inefficient before, but I was never exactly worried about him. And yeah, he's been able to get to the basket more lately. And this game, this was definitely one of, if not his best game yet this season. And I also thought he was applying really good ball pressure to contribute to how well the Lakers were defending against the Nuggets. Well, there was also the Sixers game where he played really well, but this was definitely up there with his best games this season. And also KCP, while he had a quiet first half, he was able to turn it up in the second half and finish with 10 points, so good job there. This was a great win. The fact that they were able to turn it up on defense, while the offense looked very flat in the first half, they scored 40 points by halftime, but then they were able to finish with 114, and they were able to keep the Nuggets at just 93 points. Like, this is a great win for the Lakers, and only a half game behind the Jazz, and the Clippers do own the tiebreaker because of the opening night win. But the Lakers, just got to control their own destiny. And tomorrow, while the Lakers aren't playing tomorrow, their next game against the Pistons. And this one's at home, so hopefully they can bounce back from the earlier game against the Pistons. Because that game, I did rant about in my All-Star video. And by the way, I made a mistake in that video. I thought that there'd be no All-Star game, but All-Stars would be recognized. Actually, it turns out there will be an All-Star game next month. So my apologies on that. But, when I made my video about voting for the All-Stars, I did give a rant about the Lakers choking against the Pistons. So not tomorrow, or actually, I'm in Japan. So for me, not tomorrow, but the day after, is a chance to get some revenge on the Pistons. In fact, they should beat the Pistons. How could the Lakers lose twice against the Pistons? And I know contending teams do lose to bad teams. It's not a new thing, but either way, the Lakers definitely can't lose twice to the Pistons. And also, what would be today for my viewers, or the ones in America, obviously, not in Japan, but Clippers-Celtics, that's the game I'm going to be mostly focused on. And in a finals matchup, I'm 100% going to root for the Clippers if the Celtics were to play the Clippers. But for this game, I think I'm throwing up in my mouth by saying this, but I'm going to be rooting for the Celtics because that's going to benefit the Lakers. This isn't all the time that I'd root for the Celtics, although my hate for the Celtics was a lot stronger when I was in high school when they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Rondo. But I still definitely wouldn't consider myself a Celtics fan by any means. They're definitely still my least favorite team. And I still would rather not root for them, but I'm going to have to this time. So that's it for now. Again, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you like more videos like this, I'll definitely do more of this. And I think I'll do videos like this for other sports too. So let me know. I'll try not to make it as long as this one though. My bad about that. But definitely let me know. And also, I noticed the basketball is not behind me. I forgot to put it behind me. It's right here. Forgot to do the full setup, but whatever. That's where I'm going to wrap up now. So see you next time.